Welcome back. Final segment of A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Before we get back to the SEC, let's hand out a shovel of wisdom.
Brace yourselves, because it's time for the shovel of wisdom.
You know how we do it. Every day got to set somebody straight because they did or said something stupid. You can do so on my Twitter account at Mark Zinno. Just use the hashtag shovel of wisdom. And today my shovel goes to the PGA. It's not necessarily for the reason that you might. Yes, you guys have known my stance for a while now on live golf for the PGA and how I think they've screwed this up. But I'll add this in one little sort of twist here. If you didn't see this, apparently the PGA Tour is announcing that it is going to be doing this new sort of stadium golf series where you're going to have Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy are launching this new stadium series where essentially it's 2 hours. There's 18 holes. They hit balls into a golf simulator like a screen, and then they walk out onto apparently like a green-like substance to actually physically putt the ball into a hole. And it's supposed to be on TV and everything else. And you get two big names, obviously, with Tiger and Rory. And on the surface, I genuinely think something like this is interesting. I'd probably watch, and it's probably cool. But the problem here for the PGA is that you should have thought of this before. You should have done this before Live Golf showed up. You're doing it now, and it seems like it's disingenuous that you're doing it because you're only doing it because somebody put a better product out there. It's like one of those things where it's, oh, you forget your wife, your anniversary, and the next day you show up with this huge new bouquet of flowers. Yeah. If you didn't forget, just a card and a happy anniversary, babe, would have sufficed. Right? So this is a genuinely interesting idea. But again, it seems like such a desperate attempt now to continue to try to draw people's eyes away from live golf. Once again, PGA is doing everything backwards. Instead of embracing the competition and going head-to-head with it, they're trying to be more divisive, and it's not going to work. You're going to end up spending a lot of time, money, and energy and effort to not prevent golfers from leaving for the Live Tour. Now, again, there's going to be some announcements today at Eastlake from Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA, and there will absolutely be some shakeups going forward, and I believe there will be some shakeups going forward. But, you know, I don't know that any of this is going to deter people from going over there. I mean, maybe it will, but at this point, Liv is throwing a lot more money around and a lot more comfort around, a lot less stress. And they don't. Liv doesn't have to go out there and prove themselves to anyone at this point. They just go play golf, right? Like the PGA is now going to ask more of Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and everything else. And oh, by the way, Tiger doing this is the easiest layup in the world. Tiger could take a dump on TV and people would watch. Like that's just the way it is with Tiger. So him doing this, and again, it makes a ton of sense to have him doing this. You can't walk 18 anymore. You can't walk for 4 days straight. You give him in a simulator, all he's got to do is stand up, sit down, swing a club. Yeah, his back and his leg can handle all that. When he doesn't have to move more than 15 feet in any given direction at any point in time for 2 hours, he'll be fine. So from that standpoint, it's smart. Getting Tiger to do this is smart. But, you know, again, it's not like if you take Tiger out and you put in Sergio Garcia. No, he went to live, did he? You put in Xander Schauffele against Rory. It's like, okay, maybe they really watch it. I don't know. Maybe they will. But I doubt it. It seems kind of desperate by the PGA. But what else? They reek of desperation. Kind of like my social life, my kid, but not really. All right, let's get back to the SEC here. Because, look, clearly this is a two-team dominant conference right now. It's Georgia and Alabama, and then it's everybody else. And if we look at it by, division, SEC East and SEC West, if one of those teams were to falter, who would be there to pick up the pieces? Now, for my money, and again, if you look across at some of the experts, the people who are prognosticators and everything else, but if you look at those folks, you get a variety of different answers as who's the second best team in the East. For my money, it's Tennessee. They have a real thing there in Hendon Hooker. And Josh Heupel, another year there, is going to make that team very, very competitive. I feel like they could be this year's Ole Miss, where they end up winning 10 games. They beat a couple teams nobody thought they were going to beat. They surprised somebody. I mean, look, this is a Tennessee team that also, again, still faces Alabama, still faces Georgia, and still faces, I think they get Texas A&M. Just double check. I got to check it out. But, they play a tough schedule. No, I'm sorry. Alabama, Georgia, and they got to go to LSU, playing back. So, from that standpoint, for them to get to 10 wins might be tough, but this is pretty confident at least an 8 or 9 win team. And if somehow they can beat LSU and Baton Rouge, which I don't think LSU is going to be very good this year, I think it's going to take one more year for Brian Kelly to get things on track, especially at the quarterback position. That said, Tennessee would be my pick. Now, I've seen other people end up picking Florida. I don't know why people think Florida's going to be good. I don't know. I'm not 100% clear on what anybody has seen that Billy Napier is going to turn this program around. That's a 6-16, 7-5 at best, if you ask me. And I don't think Anthony Richardson is the answer at quarterback. But that's just me again. Now, Kentucky will always present a problem. They're very sound defensively. They run the ball. They are sort of like a poor man's Georgia at a basketball school. And that's good enough for them to tear through the SEC East, except for Georgia, and at least, be competitive with a team like Tennessee. But they'll beat Vanderbilt, Missouri, Florida, and South Carolina. There's 4 wins right there. So they're going to be bowl eligible again. And they've won a bowl game 4 years in a row. But they're not going to be as good as Tennessee, in my opinion. On the flip side of the conference, after Alabama, you have some different options there of who is going to be there to pick up the pieces. Texas A&M is everybody's natural choice at this point in time. But, you continue to ask the questions about Texas A&M, and if they can do it, is now the time. Will they end up, overtaking Alabama? Can they beat them now 2 years in a row because it's the only guy who's ever beaten Alabama as a former assistant in Jimbo Fisher? Haynes King is really going to be critical to the Aggies. He was a quarterback last year, broke his leg, I think, in the first or second game of the year. Then they dealt with Zach Calzada all year long. And if Haynes King is back and he's healthy, well, he is back. But if he's healthy and the leg is healed and he can run around and make plays, they have a good shot. But they're going to have to put together an offense that can keep up with Alabama. That's really the issue. The defense is going to be sound again. It's going to be tough. They're not going to give up a lot of points this year. But Haynes King is really the answer for Jimbo Fisher, the question for Jimbo Fisher, and how much they can get out of it. And I think they have the talent to do it. It's just a question of whether they can put it all together. And then the only other real, to me, viable option is Arkansas. I love what Sam Pittman has done with this team. 9 wins last year. I think they may get to 10 this year. They're going to smoke Cincinnati in their week 1 game, and it's going to be off to the races. This is an Arkansas team that could be 4-0, 5-0 to start the year before they end up, going through a meat grinder in their schedule. But Sam Pittman, as a Georgia disciple and a Kirby Smart disciple, really has built something that they haven't seen in Arkansas in a long time. Again, they beat Texas A&M. They start out 4-0, 3-0, and then they get A&M and Alabama. They both get them home. Now, they do have to travel to BYU in the middle of October, which is an interesting game. Could be a spot that they get tripped up, but I think they're good enough to beat A&M. They'll probably lose to Alabama, even though they're going to be home. And then it's BYU and Ole Miss. But, I can see 10 wins for this team and a 10-2 finish and a New Year's Six bowl for Arkansas. There's no reason to believe you should. They can run the ball. They've got good quarterback play. They're going to be incredibly physical up front. So, for me, that's where I would go. Don't trust LSU yet. Ole Miss has lost so much. It'll be interesting to see what Lane Kiffin can do. There's a lot of people who think that he'll be back again, and Ole Miss will be back again. It's a coin flip for me. I think Auburn and Mississippi State are going to be bad. By Auburn standards, they're going to be bad. They might finish, 6-6 again, but they might be like, 2-6 in conference. So that's really the problem. I don't know. They might only beat up on Mississippi State and somebody else, and LSU or whatever in conference. That's about it. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. The SEC West is always going to be interesting and contentious, but that's there. All right, that'll do it for us today here on A to Z. Back tomorrow on a Friday to wrap things up. You guys have a wonderful Thursday. Don't take any crap.